All right, so you wanted to really dig into Pennsylvania, right? Like beyond the Liberty Bell, beyond the cheesesteaks, you're looking for those hidden gems.
Those unexpected finds, yeah.
Exactly. And we found a video that I think is going to be the perfect guide.
Ooh, let's hear it.
It's called Wonders of Pennsylvania, and it's on YouTube, so it's visually driven, which I love. Gets you really picturing these places.
That's how I like to explore. Got to see it to believe it, right?
Right. So get ready, because we're about to uncover some seriously cool stuff, both those under-the-radar spots and a fresh take on the ones you thought you knew.
I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Okay, so the video starts off in Philly, which, kind of expected, but then, bam, it hits you with this fact. Pennsylvania was home to the very first zoo in the U.S. to have those underground viewing tunnels for animals. Remember those as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I used to love those. You could see the animals like almost in their natural habitat, or at least it felt that way.
Right. And the video was saying how that was intentional, like a way to give the animals more space, more of a natural environment than just cages.
Interesting. So it wasn't just about the wow factor for visitors. There was a thought behind it.
Exactly. Kind of makes you see zoos differently, doesn't it?
It does. Like, there's a history there, a development of how we think about animals in zoos.
Okay, so then it jumps from zoos to chocolate. Because where else? Hershey, Pennsylvania, right?
Chocolate Town, USA.
But here's the thing. The video doesn't just focus on the chocolate factories. It highlights Hershey Gardens.
Hershey Gardens. I've never even heard of that.
Right. Like flowers, AD chocolate, sign me up. But it made me think there's got to be more to Hershey than meets the eye.
Well, Milton Hershey, the founder of the company, he was all about creating a community, not just a factory town.
So it wasn't just about the chocolate bars. He had a bigger vision.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He built Hershey Park for his employees, funded the town's development, and Hershey Gardens. That was his gift to his wife, who adored flowers.
That's kind of sweet, actually.
It is. And, it reminded me of something else we'll see in the video, the Phipps Conservatory in Pittsburgh. Another case of industry and nature kind of coming together.
Ooh, okay. I'm sensing a theme here. First, the zoo design, now this. Like, is Pennsylvania intentionally trying to find that balance?
Well, let's keep watching and see. But first, we got to talk about Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah. The video doesn't shy away from the history, does it?
Not at all. It really emphasizes how powerful it is to actually be there in Gettysburg, walking those battlefields.
It's like stepping back in time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The video talks about the Gettysburg National Military Park and how they don't just preserve the land itself, but also the stories of the people who fought and died there.
Which has got to be heavy, but also incredibly important to remember.
Absolutely.
But then, almost like a palate cleanser, the video takes us to Pittsburgh, and it paints this picture: steel bridges, vibrant docks. You instantly get this sense of a city that's been through it all, but is still going strong.
A city with grit. I love that. It's like, yeah, we have a past, but we're not stuck in it.
Exactly. And I thought it was interesting how they used the phrase diverse neighborhoods to describe both Philly and Pittsburgh.
Oh, you picked up on that too. It's like, even though they're such different cities, at their core, they both have this multifaceted identity, just like Pennsylvania itself, right?
Right. Okay, so far we've got zoos with a secret purpose, a chocolate town with hidden gardens, and cities that are full of surprises. What else could Pennsylvania possibly have up its sleeve?
Well, get ready, because next up, we're headed to the Pocono Mountains. And let me tell you, the contrasts just keep on coming.
Okay, hit me. What kind of contrasts are we talking about this time?
Think vibrant water parks on one hand and charming historical towns on the other.
Whoa, that's quite the mix.
It is. But somehow, it works. It's like Pennsylvania embraces these contrasts, these unexpected pairings, and that's what makes it so intriguing.
So it's not a state that can be easily defined. Do you think that's what the video is getting at?
I think so. And the way they describe the Poconos, it really emphasizes that. They talk about the fall foliage as this vivid canvas, and how in Colombia, you're constantly surrounded by the sound of flowing water.
Okay, now you're just trying to make me jealous with all these sensory details.
Maybe just a little. But seriously, they're painting a picture with words.
And it's working. But before I get too lost in daydreams of waterfalls and fall foliage.
And this is where the video really digs into what you were asking about seeing familiar places with fresh eyes, because it swings back around to Philly.
Back to Philly. I gotta admit, I was like, okay, how many hidden gems can one city have? But they proved me wrong. Again.
What really struck me was how they focused on the Benjamin Franklin Bridge. But specifically at night, They were talking about the Art Deco lighting, how spectacular it is. And it made me think, how often do we only picture landmarks during the day?
Right. Like we're missing a whole other side of these places. Every city probably has this whole nighttime personality we never even think about.
Exactly. But then, just when I thought I had Philly figured out, they hit us with this comparison. They compare the Benjamin Franklin Parkway to the Champs-Élysées in Paris.
I know, right? I was like, hold on, those are two very different vibes.
It seems like a stretch, but when you break it down, both of those grand boulevards lined with museums, monuments, green spaces. So it's not about the exact buildings, but the feeling they create.
That's a really good point. They both have that whoa factor, you know? But then, just like that, the video brings it back down to earth with, of course, Love Park.
Gotta have a little fun along the way.
Right. Though even with Love Park, they tie it back into history by transitioning right to the Delaware River.
And not just for the pretty views either. They're talking about it as this major transportation route shaping the whole region's history, going way back.
Like back to the colonial days, right? It's easy to forget how important rivers were for trade and stuff.
Totally. The Delaware River connected Philadelphia to everything. Which, now that I think about it, circles back to that whole industry and nature thing we were talking about.
They're totally intertwined. You can't have one without the other, at least not in Pennsylvania's story. But then I love how the video shifts gears and zooms in on these smaller towns.
It's easy to get caught up in the big cities, but there's so much charm in those smaller communities. Like, they talk about Mannheim, and it sounds so unique Amish culture mixed with antique shops.
Right. It's like stepping back in time, but with the possibility of finding some awesome antiques while you're there. And then Elizabethtown, home to Elizabethtown College, and they were pointing out how beautiful the campus is. They were even saying how it inspires learning.
They definitely know their audience.
Yeah.
Appealing to the learners out there.
Totally. And then there's Litnitz. And okay, I'll admit, this one got me with the food. Handmade Pretzels A&D, a chocolate factory. Come on.
Sounds like my kind of town. They really know how to combine the good stuff.
Right. I'm starting to think Pennsylvania's whole strategy is to offer something for everyone. But really, what I took away from this part was the sheer variety of experiences you can have.
And not just in terms of the places, but like you said before, culturally, historically. I mean, even the food is diverse. It's like they're saying, no matter what you're into, you'll find your place here.
And just when I thought it couldn't get any more surprising, the video shifts gears one more time to focus on Pennsylvania's natural beauty. And they do mention Ohiopyle Falls, but they don't dwell on it.
Instead, they're like, let's take you off the beaten path a bit. And they highlight places like Lyman Run State Park. And the way they describe it, you can practically hear the sound of the wind and the chirping birds just watching the video.
I know, right? It was so immersive.
Totally. And then, just as you're feeling all zen from the forest vibes, bam, they hit you with the Allegheny National Forest, which they describe as having these diverse landscapes.
And you know, that could describe so much of Pennsylvania, couldn't it? It's like this one forest sums up the whole state, the variety, the contrast, those unexpected pairings. It's all there.
It's like the Allegheny National Forest is a microcosm of everything we've talked about today, wouldn't you say?
Totally. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. From zoos with secret tunnels to charming towns to breathtaking forests. What stood out to you the most?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's that constant theme of unexpected pairings. Industry and nature, history and innovation, bustling cities and peaceful landscapes. Pennsylvania just seems to thrive on those juxtapositions. And I think that really speaks volumes about the state's character.
It really does. It's like those pairings are part of its DNA or something. And it's not even just that they exist side by side, it's that they actually make each other better.
You're right. It's like the industry gives those cities that edge, that toughness, and then you've got this incredible nature all around it, offering this sense of peace. And then, like you said, the small towns bring in a whole other layer.
It's like the state itself is like a work of art, you know? All these different pieces coming together. Remember at the beginning of this whole thing we were talking about that automatic image we get with Pennsylvania?
The Liberty Bell.
Cheesesteaks. Yeah, and we kind of joked that there had to be more, and then this video comes along and just blows that whole idea out of the water, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to get stuck on those surface level things, you know?
It really is. But that's why we do these deep dives, right? It's about challenging those assumptions and going, wait a minute, what else is there?
And finding those hidden connections, those unexpected stories that make a place really come alive.
Exactly. And you know what? I think that's a good note to end on, because you, the listener, You wanted to go deeper with Pennsylvania. You wanted to understand what makes it tick. And hopefully this little journey has given you a new appreciation for just how much this state has to offer.
And maybe even spark some curiosity to get out there and experience it for yourself.
Right. So the next time you hear Pennsylvania, don't just picture the Liberty Bell. Think about those secret tunnels at the zoo, those hidden gardens in Hershey, those vibrant cities with their industrial pasts and their hopeful futures. Think about the unexpected, the contrast, the beauty that's just waiting to be discovered. Because in Pennsylvania, there's always more than meets the eye.